Hey everyone, my name is Mark Todd. This is Mark Said Art. Today is our third part of traditional versus digital. There's also a simple digital project for you at the end, so check it out. I think most people, when they think of traditional art, they think of things like this, the Mona Lisa or other old paintings. However, I think they also forget that their favorite games, their favorite fantasies, animes, comic books, even movies, these were all made traditionally by hand. And it's not that they made a picture you couldn't draw per se, because there are photorealistic artists out there, such as Philip Weber, as shown here, with his oil paintings. The difference being, though, a lot of that is the time, which we'll talk here. Though there's some things you can't do because it's on a screen. The brightness. The screen is actually shining back on a digital art piece. How quickly you can create it is probably the biggest difference in digital art. Making these raindrops, making the reflections, making backgrounds, even the ability to drop in backgrounds, drop in a forest into here, blur it to make it look like it's painted, the snow. And if you're doing this stuff traditionally, it's very time consuming and monotonous work. That is one of the big things that's different. Now, there's a perceived difficulty to traditional art. Everyone has tried to make a painting or draw something or use a pencil. They get it. One thing with digital is a lot of people don't know how hard it is. Most people have never tried digital art. So when somebody does make something digitally, to people who don't understand that art, they might think that the computer did the work for them and might not have the same appreciation. But this is more of an ego thing. Now, there are some out there who will even go so far as to say that digital artists maybe aren't real artists. This is not true. Digital artists are absolutely real artists. They are creating the art. There are those out there who will say that AI prompters aren't real artists. And I think the only reason that people say things like that is because AI prompters are not real artists. If you have a friend who's an artist and you ask them to paint you a sunset and then you put it online and you say, I made this, you're a bad friend to say the least, not to mention the plagiarism. If you look at even big books where they've asked somebody to paint it, some people in AI will say, well, it was my idea. Famous books such as Harry Potter attribute the art to the artists. The story told them about the pictures, about the characters, but the artwork is still the artist's, and you'll see those attributed. Now, honestly, AI art is another sales point for traditional art. You don't get 10-year-old kids standing next to masterpieces in art galleries claiming that they painted it. Not yet, at least. Now, what's the point if a computer can do it better, or if a machine can do it better, or a photograph can do it better? When the photograph came out, that was the big hit for traditional artists. Your traditional artist was your documenter. If you wanted to see a war, if you wanted to know what somebody looked like, you needed somebody to go and paint that. So when the photograph came out, artists started making paintings more colorful. They started impressionism. They started doing things that cameras couldn't do to compete with this. And eventually, a lot of these things turned from less documenting to more about the art itself. And there's those out there who will talk about photorealistic painters and say, well, what's the point? And even that, I think that's unfair. There's a lot in the art community I hear say things like that. But people are always interested in the human aspect. Even if a machine is better, people always care more about the person. You will see a sprint, and everyone who is at that event drove a car or went on an airplane or whatever it was that was faster than anyone running that race. But no one is going to pay you to watch go down the road at 30 miles an hour in your car. No one cares. And even when you do have a race car, they don't put the car on the podium. They put the person on the podium because people are interested in the human aspect. And this is one of the things that separates, for instance, something like AI, where if I programmed a car to go around a racetrack, it doesn't have that interest. People want to know about the human factor. And art is a human factor. AI is a glorified recorder that throws out old ideas, and it might put in different combinations, and you might want to use it for inspiration or to get ideas, but in the end, what it's producing isn't anything unique or novel. And even if it was, it wouldn't be coming from a person, which is really what people want. People want that human expression in the art, just like they want to see how much somebody can lift more than they want to see what a forklift picks up at Home Depot. They want to see how fast somebody runs more than they want to see a car go down the freeway. They want to see the race car driver more than they want to see the car, because they want that human factor in there. That's what we care about in art. And whether it's digital or traditional, you can express that both ways. I personally like both, but if you have thoughts on that, please let me know what they are. One last factor in this, what it's done on is probably what it's going to be best on. No matter how hard I tried, I could not get the paintings I did to look as good on a digital format. You can't see the glazing, you can't see things in pixels that you can see with the naked eye. The same token, the glowing effect, a lot of the things you do on a screen digitally, you can't get it when you print it. Alright guys, so this is the picture we're about to do, and the first thing we want to do is just get down a base for our sunset and the ground. I'm using Clip Studio Paint because they've got a lot of great brush options. The grass, as well as some of the wispy cloud shapes, are free on there. So that's a great thing about Clip Studio. They've got a good resource in that. However, if you're using Procreate or Photoshop or any other system, you can do similar things. The clouds, I'm switching in and out of a round brush. You could do the whole thing, honestly, with the round brush. I'm using different amounts of opacity. So some areas I want to be completely opaque, and other areas I want you to see through it to show that the clouds are getting a little bit thinner. Don't worry about it looking too good as you're going through the process. A lot of it's just getting through the coloring. You'll also notice I put some dots in the picture. That's because I was going to have a standing character, and I wanted the brightest light to be framing them. I end up not doing this, so it's not really set the way I would have wanted if I was putting more time into it. You usually want to frame your subject. That's all right. It's not too big of a deal. This is just kind of a simple project using just a few colors, and with just a few colors and just a few brushes, we can really get a lot done. We're now going to add our characters, and once again, a rough sketch is fine. So we've got a man and a woman holding hands with her head on his shoulder. And I'm going to make it all dark, even though normally with this lighting, you would be able to see them a little bit better. But this is just an example. I want to make it simple. I do darken the grass a little bit to make it a little more believable, add in a little bit more shadow onto them. And that also helps that rim light show a little bit better. But this is a very simple project you can do. I then add in a little bit of red on some of the grass to indicate could be like some berries or flowers or whatever, but just to add a little bit more color and interest. Play around with it a little bit yourself. You only need a few brushes, or even just one brush, you could really do it, and just a few colors. So nice easy project to get going, or if you're already doing it but you just want something simple to practice with. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love to have you as a subscriber. So please share any comments or thoughts you have, or things you would like to see in the future. Appreciate the support, and you guys all have a good evening.